Human beings constantly work for progress in all areas of life. We expand the boundaries of our understanding of the cosmos with telescopes and the boundaries of the microcosm with microscopes. Now we are working to expand the venue of the tool that makes all other progress possible, the human intellect. Hello and welcome to Matter and Beyond. I'm your host, Laura Wells. Today we will look at the world of computers, robots, and artificial intelligence. We will meet Dr. Anne Forrest, who is one of the researchers who worked with MIT's AI labs. She had the unique position of contributing her spiritual insight to the creation of human android projects such as Kismet and Cogs. Today she will share her insights with us on the relationship between the search for spiritual meaning and the interest in artificial intelligence.
The beginnings of artificial intelligence reach back to the 18th century with René Descartes and his effort to reduce the animal's movement to mathematical formulas. Since then, AI has experienced slow and incremental development with a surge in technology during the 1990s and the early 21st century. Some scientists are now at a point in which they believe they are on the verge of creating human-like intelligence in a machine. They hope to enable these machines to demonstrate the flexibility, creativity, and ability to learn from interactions that are characteristic of human beings.
They have been very successful in creating machines that are very good at one specific task, like Deep Blue beat Kasparov in chess, right? But what they were entirely lacking was what we humans are very good at, the capability to improvise, and especially the capability to be in this world, to navigate, to interact, to balance. I mean, simple bodily tasks.
According to Dr. Forrest, in order to achieve true-to-life functioning as a human, a robot must be treated as a person. This is the underlying reason behind building humanoid robots. Two such robots are Cogs and Kismet of MIT AI labs. They are given qualities that encourage us to interact with them.
What I find fascinating about the technologies Cog and Kismet that I've been involved in, that they are so fundamentally communal, right? They react to facial expressions, they have their own facial expressions, so you interact with these kinds of technologies via social nonverbal cues.
Simply observing humans does not help robots to overcome current roadblocks in AI. Learning from people requires an active interaction between humans and robots. As a result, the AI community shifted its task from reason-driven projects to interaction-driven projects.
So it's not your rationality, your language that interacts with those technologies, but your gut. And what I found when we actually explored how Kismet interacted with human beings, or better, that's how human beings interact with Kismet, that they all fell in love with it.
Emotions and interest combine to complete an interaction. Just as we limit our interaction with people who do not show interest and emotional connection to us, robots will also limit their interaction with disinterested parties. Consequently, for a proper interaction to occur involving a robot, it must imitate emotions.
I'll give you a good example from science fiction, Star Wars. R2-D2 versus 3CPO, right? 3CPO, this beautiful humanoid robot that speaks with this wonderful upper-class British accent, right? All this kind of great. Then R2-D2, who doesn't even speak, who always makes boop, boop, boop sounds. Who is more adorable? Everyone would vote for R2-D2. Why? Because, after all, he is 3CPO speaking wonderfully British and, like us. No, because R2-D2 is emotional. And we like emotions because that's something we can empathize with.
The process of developing humanoid robotics can actually help us as a society to remember things that are important to humanity, such as community and the subtler qualities of communication.
And I think one thing that we learned by building those robots is how emotional and how communal human beings really are. Because we wouldn't react so strongly to those robots if they weren't so fundamentally emotional. So actually, what I find profound is that AI, at least this kind of AI, can teach us something about our own nature that we have forgotten. That it can teach us something about the value of emotions, of nonverbal interactions, of community, that we have forgotten to see as relevant.
New directions also bring new controversies. Religious communities often see AI as a threat to the uniqueness of human beings. The public mind also absorbed some of the science fiction community's prediction of apocalyptic wars between humanity and robotic fleet. The second half of our program offers assurance that these fears will never materialize if we hold on to the values that are dear to us.
The concept of AI is almost as controversial as cloning. People don't know what to expect. In many religious traditions, it is considered blasphemous and a threat to humanity for people to try to take the role of the creator. To create anything that is claimed to be equal to humanity is unmentionable.
Now he has AI and actually says, look, we are building an artifact that is not even natural, that consists of silicon, is run by electronics, has nothing in common with a natural being, and yet it is as smart as you are, as good as you are. Now that's the ultimate threat.
Dr. Forst's perspective on this dilemma is unique and appeals to the depth of our humanity to deal with something that is not essentially human. She asserts that with the right perspective, a threat can become a celebration. Since God is the creator of all, human creativity is celebration of God's creativity. Instead of viewing the research on artificial intelligence as anti-God, she views it as a recognition of the greatness of God.
It kind of says, okay, we are created in the image of God, so we participate in God's creativity because God is the creator of all. Now, whenever we are creative, we celebrate God in us. Whenever we are creative, we celebrate God's creativity in us. When we recreate ourselves, the most complex beings in the universe, we celebrate God the most. Hence, the building of artificial creatures is service, is prayer. And what I found intriguing was that I found exactly that true at MIT.
Along with the resistance to imitating the creative power of the divine, there is the awareness that we don't have enough control over the outcome of these machines in order to feel safe from them.
Because those machines are so complex, we cannot control them. You know, I mean, they do things we have not foreseen. They do things we don't even understand. I mean, you know, the classical prejudice, oh, a machine can only do what you put in. That is, of course, long overhauled. It's old-fashioned now because machines do all the time things we couldn't even begin to understand, right? And I think it's a lot about control.
Dr. Forst questions the necessity of control itself rather than working on ways to better control the outcomes. A person's self-confidence is key in producing this attitude. She illustrates this notion with an example of child development.
It's the same thing like parents have with babies, you know? Oh, I want my baby to be a doctor. And suddenly the baby turns out to be a beautiful artist and say, no, I don't want to go to medical school. I want to become an actor or an artist. Help, I lose control, right? So it's this control issue. Self-confident people are not afraid of giving up control because they are not under the illusion to have control to begin with. They accept life as it comes, and it's really more people who are insecure who want to maintain the sense of control.
Management of our fears is essentially a spiritual exercise that tames our ego and desire to control everything around us.
So for me, again, from a spiritual point of view, I mean, being spiritual, I think, is all about accepting and going with the flow of life and not trying to be so in control. And if you're willing to accept that, then I think you have a very good chance of accepting of all these technological and scientific development without feeling threatened. And I think when you accept them as an integral part of your life will be richer because you don't have to force yourself to reject them.
The fear of losing control of artificial intelligence is not new to our times and current technology. We have been aware of the potential problems for some time. The Victorian-era story of Frankenstein is a vivid example of the long history of this awareness. However, the answer to the problem again lies not in greater control, but in greater virtue of the human race. The central theme of Frankenstein is the rejection of an artificially made creature and its consequent failure to develop empathy and other beautiful aspects of humanity.
Because when you actually see what happens in the Frankenstein story, Victor Frankenstein builds this creature to overcome death. And the creature is absolutely hideous, right? So the creature comes to life and Frankenstein abandons him, never gives him a name, never assigns him personhood, rejects him. So the creature is on his own and tries to find contact, right? And every attempt to make contact, to find love, is rejected because he looks so hideous.
The premise underlying Dr. Forrest's assurance about AI is that human beings' self-centeredness and hatred will teach machines the same. The way to avoid this is to manifest something else: compassion, mercy, etc. A human being who is able to show kindness to the creature is able to teach him the same.
The only person who accepts him is the blind guy because he cannot see him and therefore doesn't buy into the value judgment. So why is the creature brutal? Because it has never experienced love. It has been rejected by society. Where in the world should any benevolence, any love for human beings come from when all what you experience is rejection?
Anne Forrest believes that in order to solve potential problems of an evil robot's domination, mankind needs to cultivate love. This love needs to not only extend to ourselves, but must be able to encompass everything that exists.
Because hate, rejection creates hate and rejection. And so when people ask me, but aren't you afraid that those creatures ever stand up against us? And I say, well, what really creates hatred? It's usually the people who hate have been hated first. You know, they have only learned hatred. So let us treat them with respect and give them dignity, and they will not reject us.
Dr. Forrest's answer to the controversies surrounding artificial intelligence research and engineering is to create a human environment that deeply reflects our spiritual values. Within this environment, any intelligent machine with the ability to learn would inevitably learn our values. She places our fears in the context of more fundamental states of resistance to playing God and the need to control outcomes. The solution, she says, lies not in our approach to AI research, but in changing our perspective and outlook.
One result of Dr. Forrest's perspective on how to address the controversies and fears surrounding AI is that she serves as a bridge between the religious and scientific communities. She not only eases the concerns of religious communities, but also helps the scientific community to remember values they may have forgotten. Her scientific background enables her to fully understand the challenges and areas of progress in modern life. Her background in theology makes it possible to put the lives, hopes, and fears of humankind into perspective.
Dr. Forrest's approach begins with the assertion that all people have an inherently religious impulse that causes them to search for meaning outside of clear observations. For Dr. Forrest, religion plays a very important role in our construction of meaning for our lives. That religious hunger is something that even people who don't believe feel.
I think that every human being is by nature religious, and what I mean by that is that every human being asks for meaning. We all want to have meaning in our life. We want to have purpose. We don't want to be just understand ourselves as the random reconstruction or recombination of genes of two people, an egg and a sperm that randomly happen to meet each other, right? I mean, that's a horrible way to see it, yourself. And religion has always constructed those stories, those narratives that put human beings into a cosmological history and therefore gives us a place and gives us a reason and a purpose to be here. And I find that very powerful.
When she began working with the AI community, she met them with some surprise because they seemed to defy her claims that human beings are inherently religious. Yet, they created their own rituals and ways of searching for meaning outside of themselves.
But to my utter surprise, the people in computer science had nothing to do with religion whatsoever, and yet on every party that do with some weird things like, calling the spirits, asking, this glass thing where everyone puts their hands on the glass and asks yes or no. I mean, crazy stuff. And I was kind of thinking, so why are they so much against church and religion and everything and do this completely irrational stuff over there?
These types of actions proved to her that her assertion was correct. Even people involved in such a deeply rational field such as computer science needed some sort of spiritual outlet outside the bounds of rationality. This proof increased her desire to bridge the worlds of scientific research and religious or spiritual outlooks.
It took me a while to realize that computer science is this very objective sort of science, all technology, science, engineering, but the people still needed an outlet for their spiritual quest. And because they couldn't find it at all in their life of computer science, they had to find it somewhere in a complete irrational realm. And so that experience kind of grew in me the wish to reconcile those two sides. You know, to overcome this incredible, seemingly deep gap, an unbridgeable gap between religion, spirituality on the one hand, and science, rationality on the other hand, because my approach has always included both.
As Dr. Forrest observed, the challenges that AI presents led the MIT scientists to realize the complex and awe-inspiring qualities of existence. Realizing that complexity opened many doors for contemplation and humility.
And they tried to build an artificial human being. And they said, you know what? For the first time we admire the complexity of nature. Because here we are, the smartest scientists and engineers in the world. I mean, after all, that's MIT. That's not some school. It is MIT. And boy, we fail. We try our best and we fail.
While the scientists may simply recognize their inability to match the creativity of the source of human life, Forrest sees a bridge from scientific research to spiritual knowledge. Though they do not use spiritual or religious terminology, she still sees a way to build understanding between rational, scientific, and intuitive spiritual perspectives.
And we suddenly realized that we brilliant people cannot even put an ant together. So how much more difficult is it to build a human? And I, of course, translate that into spiritual language. And I say, they start to realize the greatness of creation. You know, and I asked them, don't you think that's something spiritual? And why they would reject the terminology. They definitely said there is some element of awe that surpasses the rational framework of science.
Another religious theme, the hope for immortality, is an additional interest that drives the pursuit of artificial intelligence. Memory is perceived as the key to a person's identity, and AI holds the potential to record, transfer, or even delete memories. Dr. Forrest questions the value and practicality of this motivation.
So, first of all, from everything we know about how memory works, it's not here, it's there, you know? And so it's our being in this world that creates memory. So, downloading the brain contents into a computer wouldn't do anything, right? So from a technological perspective, I do not think it's possible.
Just as our scars show that the past is real, most of what we know is what we remember. For the most part, we remember from seeing and feeling.
Secondly, we also know that the whole body contains body memory, right? And a lot of memory actually we create through being with people, right? So no, memory is something so communal, so embodied, so interactive that no, downloading the brain contents wouldn't do anything. So that's the scientific point.
In addition to the impracticality of downloading memories as a path to immortality, she criticizes the attempt to modify memories, as this would be a loss of something essential, something important, something human.
If we really have experienced an enormously traumatic experience, do we want to erase that memory? And I would say no, because that memory is a part of my life, and I have to integrate that pain into my life to give it meaning. There's again the term meaning. You know, and I think all what religion is about grieving, accepting grief, and learning to accept those things as part of your life.
AI, along with stem cell research and nanotechnology, also opened up the possibility for prolonging the human life. This can be looked at as an extension of the quest for immortality and the hope that it can be found in artificial intelligence.
But even if it were, would it be desirable? And would it be what the Bible calls eternal life? And my answer is absolutely not. Because what it would mean would be my life forever. And the question is, do I really want that? You know, I mean, Nietzsche once said, people with the worst memory have the best memories. And this is a very, very wise, very, very good statement. Because, I mean, my personal experience of suffering, moments I remember where I embarrassed myself, you know, things like that. Yeah, they are part of me, and I turn them as part of my life. Do I want to live forever with those memories? Absolutely not. I want to have a time where I say, you know, it's now gone, right? So what is that? Basically stretching my life in the here and now with all its ambiguity, pain, blessing, beauty, ugliness, suffering, love, hate, all those things. Do I want to have that life to stretch out forever? No, absolutely not. So the people who try to download brain, the whole extropianist movement, I think, again, misunderstands what the Bible means when it talks about eternal life. It's a life that we cannot envision in the here and now. It's a life without estrangement. And we cannot envision that. But it's a life we can all hope for.
According to Dr. Forrest, we all get a glimpse of heaven on this earth at the moment where everything comes together in celebration, in beauty, and in awe. For that feeling, she gives a metaphor of individual instruments playing in an orchestra.
When you play in an orchestra, right? And the whole sound that the orchestra creates is so much more than the bits of the instruments. We bring a choir. The whole sound of the choir is so much more than each individual voice. So here we create moments of unities that for a moment overcome the estrangement between people. Those are metaphors for the kingdom to come. But it's a life we cannot envision in the here and now, only get glimpses of. And that is what for me eternal life is all about.
With her deep respect for religious ideals and spiritual yearnings, Dr. Forrest approaches the field of AI with a uniquely sensitive and diplomatic mindset. With her feet firmly planted in both worlds, she's in a position to teach each community the language of the other and help to open inroads between them. At the same time, her approach teaches the rest of us that ambivalence about change or new technologies can be an opportunity to re-examine ourselves culturally, socially, spiritually, and intellectually. We hope you enjoyed this episode. For Matter and Beyond, I'm Laura Wells. Until next time.